Hello and welcome back. Grab your hiking stick and boots, and you can join me for a walk around my local area. Well, there's a very strong wind blowing, but the actual temperature is down into the minus figures. It is bitterly cold, but I'm determined to get out and enjoy what the day has to offer, and also go to one of my favourite places. I do have a kind of spiritual connection to this, and I've shown these stones, which are named the Hurlers, before, but possibly not in as much detail as I'm hoping to here. Now, as you can see in these weather conditions, this whole place takes on a mystical, almost moody, atmospheric feel, and you can't help but soak it in as you start to walk amongst the stone circles. Now, these stones still draw people practicing druids, witchcraft, pagans, and anybody that has a general feeling that these stones on certain times of the year hold certain powers, whether it be religious, mystical, or just simply they can feel connected to the earth, the environment, and everything around them. These stones still represent that to people to this day, and they do gather here. So the actual stones are basically three stone circles, and they're from the Neolithic to early Bronze Age, and it is suggested that these stone circles were for ceremonial use. So local legend says these stones were actually local people that were playing the game of hurling on the Sabbath, and when they refused to stop, they were petrified to stone for all eternity. And here we are looking at those unlucky victims that decided hurling was probably worth the risk, and it obviously didn't pay off. So that is local legend and how these stones gain their name of the Hurlers. But on a folklore level, it is suggested that these stones, due to their placement and the powers within them, local people have said this is one area that the little people, the fairies, the spriggans, the knockers, and the piskies could be found. This area on certain times and occasions would grant a portal into this world or to theirs, so they could walk amongst the mortals. Now these stones are quite close to a car park. It's probably only a 200 metre, 300 metre at the most walk to get to them. But due to that, you do get heavy traffic and people coming here. But on days like this, you can find moments where you are alone with these stones. And that's the moments that I seek out. You have to understand that Bodmin Moor is slightly smaller than Dartmoor, so you will get a lot of walkers, hikers, dog walkers, and other people looking to enjoy these stones. So picking your time to come here to experience it by yourself, you really do need to come on days like I'm showing you here. Now I'm going to spin you around and you can quite clearly and evidently see what I'm talking about, how prominent these stones are. They really are up and in your face. There's no denying that this was a special place. And you have to wonder what ceremonial activities took place here, and of the people that practiced them. So I can tell you by now I'm starting to get really cold. So I'm going to start making tracks to the Pipers. And these two stones lie due west from the circles. Not very far, possibly only 50 metres. But those two stones, yet again, have legend attached to them. And the legend is they were two pipers. And because they refused to stop playing the pipes on the Sabbath, they too were turned to stone forevermore, and they stand two guardians or a gateway into the stones. Now it is believed these two stones are either boundary markers or gateway or they actually represent a portal into the stones for people who practice the ceremonies here. And I guess we'll probably never know, but those two theories seem plausible. Now I've made my way down the road and you can see this stone from a long way as you walk towards it, and if you're on the road it lights the skyline up. This is Long Tom, or Long Stone Cross. He's definitely been here 600 years, but maybe before 1066 in the Norman conquest. He has a cross carved into the top, and Christians are said to have met here. But there are other stones on the moor, and he could very well be a marker stone to help guide lonely travellers across the desolate wastelands of the moor at that time in poor weather. Or, as some people have suggested, he could be an original stone, a menhir, predating Christianity and going back into the annals of time and being put there by the early people that lived here on the moors. So if he is one of those original stones, and there is every strong indication he could have been, it is not uncommon for Christianity to repurpose the old religions, artifacts, areas, stones, because Christianity, that's how it evolved and moved into an area. Now, standing here with my wooden hiking stick and a satchel and bag, it is not hard to imagine yourself as a lonely traveller coming across this stone as a waypoint to cross the moor, possibly 800 years ago. And this would be a welcome sight in the fog, the mist and the rain. I am now at a really special place. I can't express that enough. And this is Trethevy Quoit. Now, this is also known locally as the Giant's House. It's thought to have been built as early as 3500 BC, and it was a burial tomb. So that would place it possibly Neolithic or late Stone Age. These stones are truly massive, and you'll see the size of it as I walk around the back. Now, this actually is described as one of the best examples of a structure like this, and the preservation and the actual detail still left within this structure is truly magnificent. Now, on the left hand side, it is actually flanked by some old cottages and buildings, and I think there's some newer ones further along, but that doesn't distract from the fact this still stands against the skyline in stark contrast to those new buildings. And it really does make you look at this and realise our culture and history and heritage are massively important, and unfortunately these days sidelined and overlooked. And yet again, coming back to folklore, this is the sort of environment where in years gone by the little people would frequent or be able to gain access to our mortal world. And yet again, I enjoy the fact that I live not too far away from this structure. So yet again, I can feel kind of connected. Now I've made my way through the lanes and I'm now at another group of stones. These are quite fascinating and quite important to people of Cornwall, for these stones represent the last king of Cornwall, King Doniert or King Dungarth. Now, he was the last king of Cornwall and he died in AD 875, and he drowned in the River Foy. Some people say it was a hunting accident, or there's a subsequent discussion that it was possibly punishment for collaborating with the Vikings, that he was punished or put to death by drowning in the River Foy. Now, there are written accounts in Ireland mentioning King Dungarth or King Doniert, and they do suggest that he was punished for his collaboration with the Vikings. Now, this is a grave site because underneath these stones there was a small vault found, and as you can imagine with the king, when they did excavate it, they did actually find the remains or bones from a horse. Now, that in itself would also suggest that it would have been somebody important and possibly, or would have been, a king. It is also suggested that he would probably have been a client king, which would have had to pay tribute to the West Saxons to keep them at bay, to stop them overrunning his own kingdom. So this is many days later, and I just needed to get out. I had to take the dog out. That's one of the things. If you have a dog, even if you don't feel like going out or want to go out, a dog will ensure you do get out. And you will enjoy it regardless of the fact that you may not have originally intended to go out. A woodland track, my dog and my hiking stick, and I'm pretty happy. But I do know Storm Isha is on its way and it's really starting to wind up. I really want to be out of these woods. I don't want to be hanging around. So within the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want to be clear of all these trees. So you're probably going to guess what I'm actually, or where I'm heading to now. We're in Cornwall. I'm going to an old tin mine, and it wouldn't be a video depicting some historic buildings if I didn't show you a tin mine. Now this is Holmbush Mine, and it was kind of operating from the 1600s. It mined lead and silver in one vein, and in another copper and tin. But I'm not recommending you go walking around these old mines or these buildings, you know, quite simply because it is dangerous. Falling masonry, bricks, unstable ground, trips, slips and falls, and the obvious danger of the mine shafts themselves. I'm pretty familiar with this place, but yet again, I would not recommend you do this unless you know what you're doing. Now the miners themselves may be long gone and, well, long dead as well, but I'm pretty sure, and a lot of people still say, you can hear the knockers down there working in the mine shafts on a very quiet, still day. But I wouldn't be able to hear them today because the storm is beginning to really wind up, and I'm making one very quick effort to whiz round here, have a look, get my feel, and then get out of here. Now Bracken's starting to get trained enough now. I've only got to just gently hint which direction I want to go by a slight little tug on the lead, and he will go there. He instinctively knows what I'm doing or where I'm possibly going to go. So he's turning out to be a nice walking companion now. Now I'm climbing some observation ladders so that you can gain entrance into the engine house just to observe and have a look. And you can clearly see the impressive nature of this building and the fact it was a real industrialized building, and men lived, worked and died within these walls. Well then guys, thanks for coming along. It's been a pleasure to show you some of the scenery that spans a complete time frame of Cornish history. I've needed to get out today in the woods. We do have a storm coming, so I want to get home before that. And obviously you could see when I was up on the moors, we had wind, but the temperatures were sub-zero and it was bitterly cold. But it was good to get out, and that's the message. If you can get out, just get out and let nature cleanse your soul, clear your mind and make you feel good and whole again. But everything comes to an end and I've got to scamper off home. So take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys out on the trail.